All right, so you're prepping for a warehouse specialist interview. Smart move, getting a head start. We've got these Indeed articles right here. And I'm excited to kind of dig in with our expert and see what we can find. We're going to uncover what hiring managers really want, how to nail those common interview questions with a warehouse twist, and maybe even find some surprises along the way.
You know, it's really interesting. These warehouse roles are changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
It's not just about brute strength anymore. They really need people who can think on their feet, adapt to new tech, and just maintain a positive attitude in what can be a pretty high-pressure environment.
Right. So it's more than just knowing like where the boxes go. What are some of those qualities that really make a candidate stand out, beyond just what's on the resume?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's about going beyond just checking those boxes. Employers are looking for people who actually understand how complex warehouse operations really are. You can almost imagine it like a symphony of moving parts. You've got receiving, storing, picking, packing, shipping, all happening at the same time, all while making sure everything's safe and as efficient as possible. They need someone who not only understands this whole intricate dance, but someone who can actually find ways to optimize it.
Okay, I'm already feeling the pressure here. So it's not just about knowing the steps, but it's almost about anticipating those hiccups and already having a solution ready. What are some examples of those hiccups that might come up in an interview?
Well, think about some of the everyday challenges of working in a warehouse. Let's say there's like a sudden influx of orders, or maybe a crucial piece of equipment malfunctions. Interviewers want to see how you'd handle these kinds of curveballs. Can you prioritize tasks effectively? Can you troubleshoot technical problems? Can you stay calm when things get a little hectic? Showing that you can do these things is going to make you a much stronger candidate.
Yeah, I can see that. So this is where those like soft skills become just as important as all the technical stuff, right?
100%.
Mm.
And here's where things get even more interesting. Warehouses are using more and more technology these days. Things like warehouse management systems, or WMS, as they're often called. These systems control pretty much everything, from tracking inventory to figuring out the most efficient routes for picking orders. Interviewers want to know if you can not only work within a WMS environment, but also if you can use it to really improve efficiency and accuracy.
You know what? That actually reminds me, I'll be honest, I didn't even really understand what a WMS was until pretty recently. So for anyone listening who's maybe in the same boat, could you just give us a quick breakdown of what a WMS is and why it's such a big deal in today's warehouses?
Absolutely. So a warehouse management system, or WMS, is basically the brain of a modern warehouse. It's a software application that helps manage and streamline every aspect of warehouse operations. Imagine trying to keep track of thousands of items manually. It would be chaos. But with the WMS, you can see where your inventory is in real time, minimize errors, and streamline all your processes from when the product arrives to when it ships out.
So being comfortable with tech is definitely a must-have for aspiring warehouse specialists. Okay, let's dive into some specific interview questions. Your Indeed article had some great examples of common ones. How should someone approach a question like, how do you prioritize tasks in a warehouse setting?
That's a classic. It's a great chance to really demonstrate that you understand just how fast-paced the warehouse environment can be. You're not just saying you can prioritize. You're showing them how you do it specifically within the context of a warehouse. Think about those key functions: order fulfillment, safety checks, inventory management. You could say something like, my top priority is always ensuring the safety of myself and my colleagues. Then I focus on fulfilling customer orders accurately and on time. And while I'm doing all that, I'm constantly making sure my workspace is clean and organized, which helps with overall efficiency.
Right. It's like you're juggling all these priorities at once, but with this laser focus on safety and making sure those deadlines are met.
Exactly. And this is where storytelling can really come in handy. Instead of just listing tasks, give them a specific example from your own experience. You could say something like, in my previous role, we had a massive influx of orders during the holiday season. I made sure to prioritize those urgent shipments while delegating less time-sensitive tasks. That way we could meet all our deadlines without compromising safety.
That definitely makes it more real. Okay, so the next one is about improving efficiency. The article phrases it as, can you describe a time when you improved efficiency in warehouse operations? This feels like a chance to really impress them.
It absolutely is. Employers love problem solvers. They're looking for someone who isn't just following instructions, but someone who's actively looking for ways to make things better. So think about a time when you noticed a bottleneck in the workflow. or came up with a solution that saved time or resources.
So, for instance, maybe someone noticed that people were wasting a lot of time walking back and forth to get packing materials. They could talk about how they reorganized the packing station to make it more efficient.
Yeah, perfect example. Or maybe you saw a pattern of errors happening during order picking and decided to implement a double check system to reduce those inaccuracies. The key is to highlight your initiative, your analytical skills, and the positive impact you had on the warehouse's overall performance.
Right. So, it's about showing them you're not just a pair of hands, but you're actually using your brain to constantly optimize things.
Okay, now let's talk about safety. There was a question about describing a situation where you maintain safety in the warehouse.
It's clear that safety is like the #1 priority in this environment.
It's absolutely non-negotiable. Employers need to know that you take safety seriously, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. This is another great opportunity to tell a story that shows how vigilant you are and how committed you are to keeping the work environment safe.
Like what kind of story?
Okay, so let's say you notice a spill on the warehouse floor. You could describe how you immediately cordoned off the area, alerted your coworkers, and then followed the proper procedures for cleaning it up to prevent any accidents. Or maybe you saw a coworker using a piece of equipment incorrectly, and you stepped in to show them the right way to use it safely.
Right. So, it's not just about following the rules yourself, it's also about looking out for others and making sure everyone's on the same page when it comes to safety.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about what you say, it's also about how you say it. So maintain that professional demeanor. Speak clearly and concisely, and be ready to answer any follow-up questions they might have.
Okay, we've covered some really solid ground here. We talked about what employers are really looking for, how to structure your answers, and the importance of using real examples from your own experience. I bet our listeners are already feeling a lot more prepared.
They should be, but we're just getting started. In the next part, we'll dive into some of those tougher, more technical questions and figure out how to showcase your unique value so you can really stand out from the competition.
That's coming up after the break, right here on the Deep Dive. All right, so we're back and ready to dig even deeper into those interview questions, to help you really nail that warehouse specialist role. Last time we talked about how important it is to showcase those problem-solving skills and that strong commitment to safety. Now let's tackle those questions that might be a little bit more on the technical side.
Yeah, those technical questions are a great opportunity. To really show off how familiar you are with all the tools and tech that the industry uses. Like, for example, the Indeed article mentions questions about warehouse management systems. Remember those? We talked about how those WMS systems are like the brains of a modern warehouse.
Exactly. We covered what a WMS is, but how can someone really use that in an interview to impress the hiring manager when they're asked about their experience with those systems?
Well, it's all about showing them you understand how a WMS is used in the real world and how it impacts the day-to-day operations of the warehouse. Don't just say, I've used a WMS. Try to give a specific example. You could say something like, in my previous role, we used a WMS to optimize our picking routes. And that actually led to a 15% reduction in travel time for our pickers, which really boosted our order fulfillment efficiency.
That's a great example. It's quantifiable, it's specific, and it highlights how you can use technology to get those real results.
You know what? I'm noticing a trend here. It's not enough to just say you have a skill. You have to actually prove it. That's exactly right. And another question you might get is about your analytical skills. Might seem surprising. But analytical thinking is crucial in a warehouse environment. Employers want to know if you can spot patterns, solve problems, and make decisions based on data.
Right, so it's not just about moving boxes around, it's also about understanding the data behind those boxes.
Exactly. For example, let's say you notice a recurring issue with damaged goods arriving at the warehouse. Now, instead of just reporting the problem, you could actually take the initiative to analyze the data. Maybe you look at the shipping routes, or the packaging methods, or even the handling procedures within the warehouse itself. By finding the root cause of the problem, you're showing them that you can go beyond just the surface level and actually solve problems effectively.
You know what? I'm realizing that warehouse work is way more complex than people might think.
It definitely is.
It requires critical thinking, problem solving, and a deep understanding of how everything connects.
You got it. And here's a question that sometimes throws people off. Why does working as a warehouse specialist appeal to you? Now, it might seem like a simple question, but it's actually a great chance to show off your passion for this field.
Yeah, I can see how it would be easy to fall back on those generic answers. So how can someone make their response really stand out?
Well, think about what genuinely gets you excited about this kind of work. Is it the fast-paced environment? The satisfaction of seeing a well-organized warehouse running smoothly? Or maybe it's knowing that you're a vital part of a much larger supply chain and that you're helping to get those products to the people who need them. Whatever it is, let that enthusiasm shine through.
So it's about connecting those personal motivations to the actual job itself instead of just saying, I like to stay busy. You could say, I thrive in fast paced environments where I can constantly learn and adapt. The dynamic nature of warehouse work keeps me engaged and motivated.
That's a fantastic way to put it.
Yeah.
You're showing them you're not just looking for any job. You're looking for this job for the right reasons.
I love it. Okay, so we've covered some of those tougher technical questions, but what about some of the more general interview advice? The Indeed article also talks about things like first impressions, body language, and following up after the interview.
Oh, those are all super important too. Remember, you want to present yourself as a professional. That means dressing appropriately. Think clean, functional attire, and maintaining confident body language, eye contact, a firm handshake, a genuine smile. These things can make a big difference.
Right, it's all about projecting confidence
Yeah,
and showing them you're taking this opportunity seriously.
exactly. And don't underestimate the power of a well-written thank you note after the interview. It's another chance to reiterate your interest, highlight your key qualifications, and just thank the interviewers for their time.
Those little details can really go a long way. You know, we've covered so much in this deep dive, from understanding what qualities employers want to crafting those compelling answers, and even mastering the art of storytelling. You're armed with the knowledge and strategies you need to totally ace that interview.
You're ready to go. Just remember, preparation is key. Take some time to think through these questions, practice your responses, and you'll walk into that interview feeling confident and prepared.
So true. And you know, even if you stumble on a question or two, don't let it throw you off. Just stay positive, keep that professional demeanor, and focus on showcasing all your amazing strengths.
Exactly. The warehouse industry needs talented people like you. Go out there and make a great impression.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We're here to support you on your journey to landing that dream job. Good luck. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our warehouse specialist interview prep. I know you've been taking notes and you're probably feeling way more confident now, but we've got a few more bonus tips that can really give you that extra edge.
Yeah, you've learned about showcasing your technical skills, highlighting those all-important soft skills that are so crucial in a busy warehouse environment. But there's one more tool I want to talk about, storytelling.
Okay, we've touched on storytelling a bit throughout this deep dive, but why is it so important? Especially in an interview.
Well, stories make you memorable. Instead of just listing off your skills, you're painting a picture for the interviewers. They can actually see how you think, how you approach challenges, and how you've achieved success in the past. Remember, they're not just hiring a skill set, they're hiring a person.
Right, that makes sense. So how can someone actually weave those stories into their interview answers?
Well, think back to your previous jobs. Find those moments where you demonstrated those key qualities we've been talking about. Problem solving, efficiency, that commitment to safety. Let's say they ask you about teamwork. Now, instead of just saying, I'm a team player, tell them a story about a time when you and your colleagues had to overcome a tough situation in the warehouse. Maybe you had a tight deadline, or there was a shortage of materials, or a piece of equipment suddenly broke down. Describe how you worked together, how you communicated, and how you ultimately achieved success as a team.
I see. So it's not just a claim, it's an actual demonstration. What are some other tips for making those interview stories really compelling?
We'll keep them concise. No long rambling narratives. Just hit those key details that highlight your strengths and the positive outcomes you achieved. And it really helps to practice telling your stories beforehand. That way you'll feel more confident and your delivery will be nice and smooth.
That's great advice. Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to mention something that a lot of people forget. Asking good questions at the end of the interview. It's your chance to learn more about the company and show them that you're really interested.
Absolutely. Asking thoughtful questions can make a big impression. It shows you're taking initiative. But avoid asking things that you could easily find on their website. Instead, ask questions that show you've done your research and that you're thinking seriously about the role in the company.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. You could ask about their approach to employee training and development, their plans for growth over the next few years, or even specific initiatives they're taking to improve warehouse safety or sustainability. These kinds of questions show that you're looking beyond just this one job and thinking about your potential future with the company.
It's about showing them that you're not just looking for a paycheck. You want to contribute and be a part of something bigger.
Exactly. Remember, an interview is a two-way street. It's a chance for you to decide if the company is the right fit for you too.
So true. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. From understanding what it takes to be a warehouse specialist, to building those strong answers and even becoming a master storyteller, you've got the knowledge and the strategies to really ace that interview.
You've got this. Believe in yourself, project confidence, and let that passion for the field shine through.
And remember, even if you trip up on a question or two, don't let it get you down. Just stay positive, keep that professional attitude, and focus on showcasing all those strengths.
The warehouse industry needs talented people just like you. Go out there and make a great impression.
That's right. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We're here to help you every step of the way. Best of luck with your interview.